Jared had always thought life was predictable. He worked hard, saved money, and finally managed to rent a small apartment in the city. It wasn't much, just 2 rooms, a tiny kitchen, and a balcony with a view of the glowing city lights, but it was his. The thought of starting fresh made him both nervous and excited. Moving boxes into the apartment felt heavy, but his heart felt light. He had imagined quiet evenings reading books, maybe cooking simple meals and enjoying the peace that had always eluded him. As he pushed open the door to his new home, he expected emptiness. What he didn't expect was the presence waiting for him. Sitting on the couch as if it had always belonged there, was a being that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. Its skin was a soft blend of colors moving slowly like liquid paint, reflecting the room's faint glow. Its eyes were large and luminescent, calm but piercing, staring at him with an intensity that made Jared's chest tighten. Long, elegant limbs rested casually, but there was a grace in every movement that seemed almost unnatural, yet beautiful. "Hello," the being said, its voice soft but clear, perfectly articulate in English. "I am Vela, your roommate." Jared froze. He dropped a small box, the contents spilling across the floor. Roommate," he stammered, his mind struggling to process the impossible. He rubbed his eyes, thinking exhaustion or imagination might be playing tricks on him, but Vela remained calm, observing him with what he could only describe as quiet patience. Vela tilted its head slightly, and for a moment Jared noticed subtle changes in its colors, almost like it was smiling. There was something in the way it looked at him, curiosity mixed with warmth, that made Jared's nervousness twist into fascination. He could feel his heartbeat quicken, not with fear but with a strange, undeniable excitement. Here in his tiny apartment, life had become something he could never have imagined. Yeah," Jared managed to say finally, forcing a smile. "Roommate, sure, welcome." Vela's colors shimmered again, a soft glow radiating calmness. It stood and stretched in a way that seemed elegant, almost floating across the floor. "Thank you. I'm happy to be here." Jared watched, his mind racing. How could this be real? Was it an alien? A hologram? A trick of his imagination? He didn't know, and he didn't care. In that moment, something shifted in him. The world he knew, the ordinary life he had planned, suddenly felt small. Everything familiar seemed limited compared to what was sitting in his living room. He began unpacking, but his thoughts kept drifting to Vela. The creature was quiet but aware, moving gently around the apartment as if understanding every corner and shadow. It seemed to notice his exhaustion, the way his shoulders hunched under the weight of the boxes. Without asking, it reached out with one hand, and a soft wave of warmth radiated from its skin. The boxes felt lighter. The air felt softer. Jared blinked, unsure if it was real, but he didn't question it. For the first time in years, Jared felt seen, not just noticed, but truly seen. There was no judgment, no impatience, just a calm understanding that felt ancient, wise, and comforting. He realized he was smiling uncontrollably, an almost childish joy rising in his chest. He had expected a roommate to be awkward, messy, or annoying. Instead, he had found something else, something extraordinary. "Would you like some tea?" Vela asked, its voice gentle. Its long fingers hovered over a small counter, and in seconds a steaming cup appeared, aromatic and warm. Jared hesitated, then took it, feeling its heat seep into his palms. The aroma was familiar, comforting, but there was a hint of something alien, something he couldn't name. Sitting down on the couch across from Vela, Jared took a careful sip. His hands trembled slightly, and he laughed nervously. "You really know how to make someone feel at home," he said, almost to himself. Vela's colors shimmered again, brighter this time. "I am learning," it said simply. "And I am happy to share this space with you." Jared's chest tightened with a mix of wonder and anticipation. This was not the move he had planned, not the roommate he had expected. And yet, somehow it felt like fate. Something about this moment, this being, was unforgettable. And deep down, Jared sensed that his life was about to change in ways he could never imagine. The first week with Vela was unlike anything Jared had ever experienced. Every morning he woke up to find the apartment changed in subtle ways. His bed would be neatly arranged, a small breakfast waiting on the table, and sometimes the air itself seemed cleaner, fresher, almost alive. At first he thought he was dreaming, or that he had somehow imagined the being's abilities. But every time he looked at Vela, it was clear. This creature was real and it cared about him in ways no human roommate ever had. Vela was endlessly curious. It asked questions about the simplest things. Why humans laughed when they were happy. Why tears fell when they were sad. Why people sometimes hurt each other even when they didn't want to. Jared found himself explaining carefully, patiently. He told Vela about his childhood, the small joys he had known, the losses he had endured. And as he spoke, Vela listened, truly listened, with colors shifting in response to every word. Sometimes a soft blue glow meant sadness, a gentle yellow hinted at amusement, and when its skin shimmered like liquid gold, Jared felt warmth spreading through his chest. It was during these moments that Jared realized how extraordinary Vela truly was. Despite being from another world, it understood emotion in a way humans often failed to. It didn't just observe feelings. It reflected them, mirrored them, and made him see himself in a way no one else ever had. One afternoon, Jared came home from work feeling exhausted and frustrated. The city had been chaotic, the traffic unbearable, and his boss had been unreasonably harsh. He slumped onto the couch, expecting silence, maybe the dull hum of an empty apartment. Instead, he found Vela waiting. Its colors pulsed softly, soothingly, and it held a small object in its hand. A simple pendant glowing faintly with warm light. "I noticed you were tense," Vela said softly. "This may help you feel calm. It is a human tradition, I think. Comfort through touch and light." Jared blinked, surprised, then took the pendant. The warmth that radiated from it seeped through his fingers, his muscles unclenching for the first time that day. He felt an odd, almost magical connection, not just to the object but to the being who had given it to him. It was a gesture of care, simple yet profound, and he realized he had never felt anything like it from another person. As days passed, their routines intertwined. Jared cooked while Vela watched, asking questions about every spice, every technique. When he cleaned, Vela hovered beside him, observing how humans worked with effort and patience. At night, they sat together on the balcony, watching the city lights flicker, talking about dreams, stars, and the vastness of the universe. Jared found himself laughing more than he had in years, and sometimes, when Vela's eyes glowed softly in the dark, he felt a deep, tender warmth spreading through him that he couldn't name. One evening, as a soft rain tapped against the windows, Jared realized he had begun to notice the smallest things about Vela. The way its colors deepened when it was curious, the subtle shift of its posture when it was excited, even the faint hum that sometimes accompanied its thoughts. He smiled quietly because he knew he was beginning to care, not just about having an unusual roommate, but about Vela itself. Vela noticed too. It often tilted its head, watching him with an intensity that felt almost human. Sometimes it would reach out, brushing a finger against Jared's hand in quiet reassurance, and each time Jared's heart would flutter, a mix of wonder, confusion, and joy. By the end of the first week, Jared understood something important. Vela was more than just an alien roommate. It was a mirror, a teacher, and maybe somehow a friend who could see him in ways no one else could. And deep down, he felt certain that this connection, fragile and strange as it was, would change him forever. Life, he realized, was no longer predictable, and for the first time in a long time, Jared was not afraid. He was ready to learn, to grow, and to explore this unexpected bond with the most extraordinary roommate he had ever known. Life with Vela was settling into a comforting rhythm, but that calm was about to be broken. One evening, the city's lights flickered and went out. Jared had just returned from work, tired and hungry, only to find the apartment plunged into darkness. He fumbled for his phone and flashlight, his heart pounding in the eerie silence. Rain tapped against the windows, cold and relentless, making the apartment feel smaller and stranger than it had before. "Jared?" Vela's soft voice cut through the darkness. Its colors glowed faintly, casting a gentle light that barely touched the room. "Something is wrong outside." Before Jared could ask, there was a knock at the door. Not a polite, normal knock, but urgent, frantic, desperate. He froze, a wave of fear and caution surging through him. Who is it?" he whispered. "I don't know," Vela replied, its glowing eyes scanning the hallway. "But we must see." Jared hesitated, but something in Vela's calmness gave him courage. Together they opened the door. A small boy stood there, soaked to the bone, shivering uncontrollably. His wide eyes were filled with confusion and fear. "Please, my parents." "They're gone," he stammered, tears mixing with the rain on his cheeks. Jared's heart clenched. He had never been good with children, but he felt a sudden surge of protectiveness. He glanced at Vela, unsure how this being could help, but Vela was already moving. Its colors shifted quickly, a mixture of urgency and determination. "Come inside," Vela said softly, holding out its hand. The boy hesitated, then stepped forward, drawn to the gentle glow emanating from the alien. Vela guided him to the living room, where warmth suddenly appeared. The air felt softer, comforting, almost alive. A blanket unfolded itself around the boy, dry and warm, and a small bowl of food appeared. Jared watched, astonished. He had never seen anything like this. Vela whispered something in its own language, words that sounded like music. The boy's tears slowed, his body relaxing. Within minutes, the fear that had frozen him was gone, replaced by a sense of safety that no human could have offered so quickly. You're amazing," Jared said softly, awe in his voice. "I've never seen anyone do that before?" Vela's color softened to a gentle blue. "I only respond to need," it said simply. "It is instinct and care. You humans often struggle to comfort each other in moments like this. I can help." For the next few hours, they took care of the boy. Jared called the authorities and stayed close, holding the boy's hand, whispering reassurances he had never thought he could give. Vela moved around the apartment, providing warmth, light, and comfort, answering every small question, smoothing every fear with its calm presence. Jared realized something profound. Even in a world so strange and chaotic, kindness, whether human or alien, could make a difference. By the time the boy's parents arrived, tearful and frantic, Jared and Vela had created a small sanctuary in the storm. The family embraced, grateful and relieved. Jared felt a quiet pride not in himself but in what they had done together. He looked at Vela, its colors soft and shimmering in exhaustion. You handled that perfectly," Jared said, his voice thick with emotion. "I would have panicked. I don't know what I would have done without you." Vela's gaze met his. "You stayed. You cared. That is what matters. That is human courage. You did not leave the boy alone. That is why we saved him together." In that moment, Jared realized something else, something he hadn't understood before. Vela's powers were extraordinary, yes, but it was not just strength or skill that saved the boy. It was heart. And Jared, human as he was, had that same courage, the same capacity to care, to act, to make a difference. That night, as the rain finally eased and the city lights returned, Jared and Vela sat together on the balcony. Neither spoke at first, both lost in thought. But deep down, Jared knew something had shifted. This crisis had revealed more than bravery. It had revealed the bond growing between them. A bond neither had expected, but one that neither would ever forget. After the stormy night, life slowly returned to normal, or as normal as it could be with Vela as his roommate. But Jared could feel the apartment had changed in ways he could not fully explain. The air seemed warmer, softer, almost alive. Vela's presence was no longer just astonishing. It had become comforting. It was in the quiet gestures, the way it set his coffee just right in the morning, the gentle hum that filled the apartment when he worked, the soft glow it radiated during the evening. Slowly, Jared realized that he was beginning to care in a way he had never expected. They began spending more time together, beyond the routines of living. In the evenings, they would sit on the balcony, watching the city lights flicker below, sharing thoughts and stories. Jared found himself speaking about things he rarely shared with anyone. His fears, his small joys, the memories he had tucked away. Vela listened, shifting colors with every emotion he described, almost as if it felt them alongside him. There was a strange comfort in that, a sense that he was truly understood without judgment. One night, Jared laughed at a story about his childhood mistakes, and Vela's colors shimmered brightly, almost golden. It tilted its head curiously, eyes glowing softly. "Why do humans find amusement in error and embarrassment?" it asked. Jared smiled, realizing he was explaining not just to inform, but to share a part of himself. Because sometimes laughing at our mistakes is how we accept them. It makes life lighter. It helps us move forward. Vela was silent for a moment, contemplating, and then a soft wave of its glow swept over Jared. "I think I understand," it said quietly. "Your emotions. They are complex, yet beautiful. You carry so much courage in them. Jared's chest tightened. No one had ever spoken to him like that before. Not with understanding, not with such sincerity. Days turned into weeks, and the apartment felt less like a rented space and more like a home. Jared began noticing the small ways Vela adapted to human life, not out of necessity, but out of care. It tried simple things, stirring tea with a spoon, attempting to cook with him, asking questions about why humans hugged or held hands. Each attempt was imperfect yet heartfelt, and it made Jared laugh and feel deeply connected to this being who was not like anyone else he had ever known. One rainy afternoon, Jared came home feeling exhausted. He slumped onto the couch, letting out a long sigh. Vela's glow pulsed softly as it approached, extending its hand. "Do you want to talk?" it asked. Jared shook his head, too tired for words. Without a sound, Vela sat beside him and simply reached for his hand. Its skin was warm, comforting, almost human in texture. Jared's heart thumped, an unfamiliar but not unwelcome sensation. He did not pull away. Instead, he let himself feel the quiet comfort, the reassurance that someone was there, truly there for him. As the weeks passed, they began to share even more. Music became a nightly ritual. Jared played soft tunes and Vela hummed along in its own way, colors shifting rhythmically with the beat. They cooked together, laughed together, and sometimes sat in silence, watching the city and feeling the connection between them grow stronger. Jared realized something important. He had expected a roommate to be strange, awkward, maybe inconvenient. What he had found was not that. He had found someone who could see him, really see him, beyond the ordinary, beyond appearances, into the heart of who he was. And in turn he saw Vela, not just as an alien, but as a being capable of emotion, curiosity, and perhaps even love. That night, as he looked at Vela's softly glowing form across the room, Jared felt a warmth he had never known before. He knew, deep in his chest, that life had changed forever. And in that change there was a beauty he could not have imagined, a bond that would continue to grow, unspoken yet undeniable, a connection that neither of them would ever forget. The weeks with Vela had passed like a dream. Jared had begun to feel a sense of peace he had never known. The apartment was warm, filled with laughter, quiet conversations, and the gentle hum of life shared between two very different beings. He had grown used to Vela's strange habits, the way it shifted colors with emotion, the soft glow that seemed to brighten his darkest moods, and the quiet curiosity that made even the smallest human moments feel extraordinary. But one evening the calm was broken. Vela's glow shifted suddenly, flickering in sharp pulses of white and red, colors Jared had never seen. The air felt heavier, charged with urgency. Vela moved to the center of the room, its voice quieter than usual, almost hesitant. "Jared, I have received a communication. From my people." Jared felt his chest tighten. He had suspected this day might come, but he had not imagined how it would feel. "Communication?" he asked, his voice shaky. What does it mean?" Vela's colors dimmed, cooling into a deep blue. "I am summoned. There is an obligation I must fulfill. I must leave this world, my life here, and return to my home planet." Its eyes, glowing softly, met Jared's. "I did not wish for this. I did not anticipate the bond I would form here." Jared swallowed hard, a lump forming in his throat. He had felt the closeness between them, had come to treasure it, but he had always assumed Vela's world was untouchable, distant. Now the possibility of losing it, losing them, pressed on him like a physical weight. "How long? How long will you be gone?" he asked quietly. "I do not know," Vela admitted. Its voice trembled slightly, something Jared had never heard before. "Perhaps weeks, months, perhaps forever." The room fell silent. Rain tapped gently against the windows, a soft echo of the storm that had brought them together weeks ago. Jared's mind raced, imagining the apartment empty, the quiet replaced by absence. He thought of the laughter, the quiet moments, the gentle understanding they had built together. And he realized with sudden aching clarity how much Vela had become a part of his life. I don't want you to leave," he said, his voice breaking slightly. I don't know if I can." He trailed off, unable to find the right words for the flood of emotions. Vela shifted closer, its soft glow enveloping him in warmth. "I do not want to leave either," it whispered. "But my duty, my people. It is not my choice entirely, yet. I do not want to abandon this life or you. Jared looked at the glowing being, its colors now soft and trembling, and felt tears sting his eyes. For the first time, he saw not just an alien, but a soul, complex, emotional, capable of care, and just as vulnerable as he was. Vela, maybe there is another way, he said, hope flickering in his chest. Maybe you don't have to go. Maybe we can find a way to stay together. Vela's glow pulsed, brighter now, a mix of fear, hope, and uncertainty. I do not know if it is possible, it admitted. I have never disobeyed before. I do not know if I can, but... Its gaze softened, settling on Jared. I do not want to lose this, not you, not this bond. They sat together in silence, the weight of impossible choices pressing on both of them. The apartment felt smaller, heavier, yet somehow more intimate than ever. Jared reached out, taking Vela's hand in his, feeling the warmth, the subtle pulse of life beneath the alien skin. We'll figure it out, he said quietly. Whatever it takes. I won't let you go if I can help it. Vela's colors swirled softly, a slow mix of blues and golds. For the first time, it allowed a small smile to appear. Then, I will stay, it said. For now, until we know everything. The tension did not disappear, and the future remained uncertain, but in that moment, Jared realized something important. Even across galaxies, even across differences no one could have imagined, courage, care, and the human heart could create bonds that defied distance and duty, and sometimes that was enough. The days after the communication from Vela's people were heavy with unspoken questions. Jared could feel the tension in the apartment, a quiet weight that neither of them could fully shake. Every gesture, every look, every soft hum of the apartment carried the underlying fear. What if this bond, fragile and extraordinary, was taken away? Yet amidst the uncertainty, there was also a growing determination, an understanding that some connections were worth fighting for, no matter the odds. One evening, as rain whispered against the windows, Vela approached Jared, its glow soft and hesitant. I have considered the possibilities, it said quietly. I could leave. That is expected. That is what my people require, but I also have another choice. Jared's heart skipped. He had felt the fear creeping in, the looming shadow of loss, and suddenly there was a glimmer of hope. Another choice? He asked carefully, holding his breath. Yes, Vela said, stepping closer. Its colors shimmered gently, reflecting an emotion Jared could not name. Hope, fear, longing, all at once. I could remain here. I could stay in this world. With you, I would be giving up much. Responsibilities, duties, everything my people expect of me, but... It paused, a faint tremble in its voice. I would also be gaining something I cannot bear to lose. Jared felt tears prick at his eyes. The thought of Vela leaving had filled him with dread. But now, staring into the glowing, honest eyes of the alien, he realized the depth of what was being offered. This was no small gesture. It was a choice to risk everything for connection, for care, for a bond that transcended worlds. Vela. I don't care about duties or rules, he said softly, his voice breaking slightly. I care about you. About this. Us. Stay with me. Vela's glow brightened, warmth radiating like sunlight through a quiet room. It reached out, gently touching Jared's hand. The sensation was unlike anything he had felt before. Warm, reassuring, alive. Are you certain? It asked, almost whispering. Once I choose to stay, there is no turning back. My people, they may not forgive me, but... Its gaze softened, lingering on Jared's face. I'm ready. If you are ready too. Jared's chest tightened with emotion. He realized that he had never been more ready for anything in his life. He had faced loneliness, uncertainty, and fear, but nothing compared to the courage it took to embrace a love or bond that defied every expectation. I'm ready, he said, voice steady now, full of conviction. I've never been more ready. And then, as if responding to the depth of their commitment, Vela's colors swirled in brilliant harmony, a mixture of gold, blue, and soft white. Its form seemed to hum with quiet joy, a resonance that filled the apartment, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. Jared felt his own heartbeat sync with it, a rhythm born not of species, but of connection, trust, and mutual understanding. They spent the night talking, sharing thoughts, dreams, and fears. They laughed softly, sometimes in awe of the strange twist life had brought them, They admitted vulnerabilities they had never spoken aloud, feeling the safety that only true understanding can bring. For the first time, Jared felt fully known, not judged, not observed, but truly understood. And Vela, in turn, shared its own hesitations, its own fears, and its own desire for connection. By morning, a quiet peace had settled over the apartment. They had made a choice not just to stay together, but to face whatever challenges the universe might bring as a team. They had chosen each other. And in that choice there was courage, there was hope, and there was a bond that neither rules nor distance, nor fear could break. As Jared watched Vela's glow pulse softly in the early light, he realized something profound. Sometimes the greatest acts of humanity, courage, love, care, could inspire even the stars. And sometimes even an alien could teach a human the same lesson. In that small apartment, amidst the quiet morning, two beings from different worlds had chosen each other, and nothing would ever be the same. Months passed since Vela had made the choice to stay. Life in the small apartment had transformed into something neither Jared nor Vela could have imagined. They had created routines, small joys, and moments of connection that felt both ordinary and extraordinary. The city outside buzzed with its usual chaos, but inside, their world was calm, alive, and full of warmth. Jared had grown in ways he had never expected. He noticed more, appreciated more, and felt more deeply than he ever had. Even simple moments, a cup of tea shared in silence, the soft glow of Vela as it hummed a tune, the quiet laughter during a cooking experiment, felt monumental. He had discovered courage he didn't know he possessed, not in heroics or feats, but in his willingness to embrace something beyond comprehension, to open his heart fully to someone completely different. Vela had changed too. It had learned human ways, but it had also taught Jared new ways of seeing the world. He had watched it marvel at sunsets, wonder at music, and study the subtle emotions that humans often overlooked. In return, Jared had shared stories, laughter, and the quiet strength that came from caring, truly caring, for another being. They had become mirrors to each other, reflecting fears, hopes, and the courage to be vulnerable. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon, painting the city in gold and pink, Jared stepped onto the balcony and saw Vela waiting. Its colors shifted slowly, pulsing with warmth. "You look tired," it said softly. "Shall we sit?" Jared nodded, and they both sat side by side, hands brushing gently. The city hummed below them, distant and indifferent, but up here on their small balcony, there was only them. Jared felt a quiet joy, a satisfaction that went beyond words. "I never thought life could feel like this," he said, voice low. "I never imagined. This connection, this comfort." Vela turned to him, its glowing eyes soft, reflective. "I once thought humans were fragile, small, limited," it said. "But I see now. Your courage, your heart. It is infinite. You embrace life, emotion, and connection in ways I could never have expected. You inspire me." Jared's chest tightened. He had always wondered if he mattered, if his life had impact beyond himself. And now, hearing Vela's words, he understood that even in the vastness of the universe, one heart could touch another, and sometimes that touch could change everything. They sat in silence for a while, just feeling the presence of each other. The glow of Vela's skin mingled with the soft colors of the sunset, painting the balcony in warmth. Jared rested his head lightly against Vela's shoulder, and the alien leaned closer, a gesture of comfort and trust that felt impossibly intimate. "You changed my world," Jared whispered. "And I hope I changed yours too." Vela's colors shimmered, brighter and more vibrant than ever. "You have," it said. "You have shown me the beauty of courage, of care, of the human spirit, and you have given me a reason to stay, a reason to hope." For the first time, Jared realized that this was more than friendship, more than companionship. It was a bond that had transcended worlds, expectations, and fear. It was a proof that humanity, its heart, its courage, its willingness to care, could inspire even the most alien being. And in that realization, he felt a joy and peace deeper than anything he had ever known. As the night fell and stars began to twinkle above the city, Jared and Vela sat together, hand in hand, watching the universe unfold around them. They had faced fear, uncertainty, and impossible odds, but they had chosen each other, and in that choice, they had found something extraordinary, proof that life, connection, and courage could exist beyond worlds, species, and expectations. Neither of them would ever forget how it had begun, the first encounter, The shared moments, the storms faced together. But more importantly, neither would forget the decision to embrace the unknown, to care and to love. In a small apartment, high above the city, on a quiet balcony under endless stars, two beings from different worlds had found a home, not just in a place but in each other. In that home, that bond would last forever.